Who could have imagined that a 17-year-old, bullied in the school hallways for his premature baldness, would one day park his private rocket at a high school reunion? This is the extraordinary story of how fate can completely change the course of two lives that crossed paths in the past, and how forgiveness can be the greatest demonstration of power. The moment she realized who was reaching out to help her up was simply unforgettable, and what happened afterward would forever change her view on second chances in life. If you're watching this video while preparing dinner, during a work break, or perhaps lying in bed before sleep, leave a comment telling us where you're watching this moving story of overcoming, forgiveness, and redemption. Now, let us explore how a reunion after years apart transformed not only the life of a woman in distress, but also revealed the true greatness of one of the most powerful men on the planet. Westlake High School was like any other in the United States of the 90s. It had its well-defined cliques, its ruthless social hierarchies, and like every school, there were those who ruled the hallways and those who walked them trying to go unnoticed. Among the latter was Elon, a smart, introverted teenager, and, unfortunately for him, suffering from premature baldness. At 17, while most boys worried about pimples, Elon was already dealing with receding hairlines and an increasingly visible crown. This physical detail did not go unnoticed by Amanda Thompson, the cheerleading captain, known for her stunning beauty and sharp tongue. "Hey, Grandpa!" Amanda would shout down the hallways whenever Elon passed. "Forgot your walking stick today?" The laughter that followed was like daggers to the young man, who would clutch his books to his chest and quicken his pace, pretending not to hear. What Amanda and her friends didn't know was that while they practiced their routines and worried about the next football game, Elon spent his nights reading about quantum physics, programming, and aerospace engineering. The team's quarterback, Brad Collins, was Amanda's boyfriend. Tall, athletic, and charismatic, he seemed to have stepped straight out of an American high school movie. Brad didn't actively participate in the teasing against Elon, but he also never did anything to stop it. "Leave the guy alone, Amanda," he'd say sometimes, with a smile that suggested he wasn't really bothered by his girlfriend's behavior. For Elon, the feeling was complicated. He despised the bullying, of course, but there was something about Amanda that fascinated him. Perhaps it was her unwavering confidence, her fierce determination, or simply her undeniable beauty. Whatever the reason, Elon harbored a secret crush on the girl who caused him the most pain at school. One day, Elon thought as he watched Amanda and Brad in the cafeteria, one day, everything will be different. Time passed, as it always does, turning young people into adults, dreams into realities or disappointments, and rewriting everyone's destiny. For Elon, the years were generous. His brilliant mind and relentless ambition led him to build a tech empire. PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, each venture added more zeros to his bank account and more lines to his biography. For Amanda and Brad, life took a more traditional path, at least initially. They married shortly after graduation, had their first child before Brad even finished college on a sports scholarship. Then came 3 more children, a house in the suburbs, and what seemed like the American dream materialized. But then, in a cruel twist of fate, Brad suddenly passed away from a heart attack at 35, leaving Amanda alone with 4 children to raise and a mountain of medical debt. 25 years had passed since their high school graduation when the invitation to the alumni reunion arrived. Amanda hesitated to go. What would she say to her old classmates? How would she explain that the most popular girl in school, who seemed destined for a life of glamour and success, was now working 2 jobs to support her children? But her closest friend from high school, Jennifer, insisted so much that Amanda finally gave in. The reunion was held in the old school gymnasium, decorated with the same blue and gold colors that Amanda wore on her cheerleader uniform. Familiar faces, now marked by time, filled the space with laughter and lively conversations. "How's life? What have you been up to? Married? Kids?" The standard questions circulated, some answered with enthusiasm, others with forced smiles and half-truths. Everyone noticed the 2 significant absences: Brad Collins, whose untimely death had been mentioned in hushed tones by several groups, and Elon Musk, whose name now constantly appeared in business magazines and technology websites. "Did you hear about Elon?" Jennifer asked Amanda as they sipped punch from plastic cups. Who would have thought that bald kid would become one of the richest men in the world? Amanda nodded, a sad smile on her lips. Life is funny, isn't it? Brad was the golden boy, destined for greatness, and now... Her voice trailed off. And you, Amanda? How are things really? Jennifer asked with genuine concern. Surviving, Amanda replied with a sigh. The kids are wonderful, but raising 4 teenagers alone isn't easy, especially after all the medical bills Brad left behind. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden rumble, so loud that it made the floor shake. Punch cups fell, people screamed, and Amanda, thrown off balance by the high heels she hadn't worn in years, fell to the ground. When she looked up, she saw a hand extended towards her. A strong, steady hand belonging to a well-dressed man with a familiar smile and, ironically, completely bald by choice. Elon? Amanda whispered, incredulous. Amanda Thompson. Or should I say, Amanda Collins now. Elon helped her up, his smile not revealing any trace of the hurt teenager he once was. Still Collins, yes, she replied, straightening her dress and feeling her face burn with shame as she remembered how she treated this man in high school. Apologies for the scare, Elon said with a slightly embarrassed air. My ride is a bit flashy. The autopilot still needs some adjustments for landing in residential areas. Amanda looked out the window and saw, to her astonishment, a sleek silver rocket parked on the school's football field, the same turf where Brad once ran for victory in so many games. You came in a rocket? She asked, still processing the surreal sight. Was testing the new model and thought, why not make a memorable entrance at the reunion? Elon shrugged, as if arriving in a private rocket was the most natural thing in the world. Besides, I was curious to see how everyone was doing after so many years. The entire gymnasium was now watching the interaction between the former cheerleader and the billionaire. Some whispered, others discreetly took photos with their cell phones, all attentive to every word exchanged. I heard about Brad, Elon said, his tone suddenly serious. I'm so sorry, Amanda. Really. The sincere words broke something inside her. Tears that Amanda had held back for so long began to roll down her cheeks. Thank you. It's been hard. Can we talk somewhere more private? Elon suggested, noticing her discomfort with all the stares. They walked out of the gymnasium, finding a bench under an old oak tree they both recognized. The same spot where students used to gather during school breaks. So, tell me about your life, Elon asked, sitting down beside her. And Amanda told him. She spoke about her happy marriage to Brad, about their 4 wonderful children, now aged between 12 and 20, about the dreams they had, and how everything changed when Brad fell ill. She recounted the astronomical medical bills, the 2 jobs she held, her sleepless nights worrying about her children's future. Elon listened attentively, without interrupting. When she finished, a comfortable silence settled between them. You know, Amanda, Elon finally said, in a parallel universe, I might still be bitter about the things that happened in high school. Amanda lowered her eyes, ashamed. I was terrible to you, Elon. I have no excuses. We were teenagers, he replied with a shrug. Besides, those years taught me resilience. If I hadn't learned to ignore criticism and follow my own path early on, I might never have persevered when everyone said my projects were impossible. Elon paused, watching the stars that were beginning to appear in the sky. In a way, I should thank you for making me the bald kid in school. Amanda couldn't help but smile. Still, I'm sorry. I accept your apology, Elon said simply. And now, how can I help? The question caught Amanda off guard. Help? No, Elon. I wasn't telling you my story to ask for help. We were just talking. I know that. But I'm in a position to do something, and I'd like to. Elon took a small device from his pocket, typing something quickly. I've just transferred $5 million to a fund that will be created in your children's names. Half for their education, half to pay off your debts and give you all a fresh start. Amanda was speechless. Elon? I can't accept that. It's too much. For me, it's not. And before you think it's charity or pity, consider it an investment. Your children are the future, and from what you've told me, they are smart and determined young people. Maybe one day they'll work for one of my companies, or better yet, create something that will compete with them." With trembling hands, Amanda covered her face and wept. They were not tears of sadness or shame, but of relief and gratitude. When she finally composed herself, she looked into the eyes of the man before her, no longer the teenager who was the target of her cruelty, nor the eccentric billionaire of the news, but simply Elon, a human being capable of compassion and forgiveness. "How can I ever thank you?" she asked. "Live well," Elon replied simply. "Raise your children to be better than we were, and maybe occasionally tell them the story of how the bald kid from school parked a rocket on the football field." They both laughed, and in that moment, the wounds of the past completely healed. Back in the gymnasium, the party continued, but something had changed. When Amanda walked in, she was no longer the former cheerleader fallen on hard times, but a woman with a new sparkle in her eyes and renewed hope. And when Elon followed her, he was not just the eccentric billionaire making an appearance, but a man who had shown that true power lies not in the rockets we build or the cars we invent, but in the ability to forgive and transform lives. Before leaving, Elon approached Amanda one last time. "You know what's ironic?" he asked with a smile. "I actually had a crush on you in high school." Amanda laughed, shaking her head. "Life is full of surprises, isn't it?" "No, Amanda," Elon corrected, looking at the starry sky visible through the gymnasium window. "Life is an opportunity, and what we do with the second chances we get defines who we truly are." With those words, he said goodbye, walking towards the silver rocket that awaited him. Amanda and everyone present watched in awe as the imposing machine ignited its engines and ascended majestically towards the stars, leaving behind not only a trail of light in the sky, but also an unforgettable lesson about forgiveness, redemption, and the true nature of success. And for those of you who have watched this far, remember, true power lies not in holding grudges or accumulating wealth, but in the ability to transform pain into purpose and adversity into opportunity. Sometimes the people who hurt us in the past are the very ones fate chooses to teach us the most important lessons about compassion and forgiveness. If this story touched your heart, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more stories of power that remind us of the extraordinary human capacity to overcome the past and rewrite the future. And don't forget, we all have the power to park our rockets in someone's life and change their trajectory forever. All it takes is the courage and compassion to reach out when needed. Until the next video.